everyone, welcome to Chalchitra Talks. मेरा नाम वाणी है and this is another of our guest episodes. In this episode, we have with us Sheeba Chaddha, and you might know her from her amazing work in various films, TV shows, and theatre. A few days ago, I had the opportunity to sit down with her and talk to her about her favorite books that have changed her life, and some movies as well. So, without wasting any time, let's just jump right in. Hi, ma'am. How are you?
Yeah, COVID times, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, and it was such a short notice, and we are so happy to host you.
Thank you, yeah. Thank you.
So, have always wanted to know what kind of music are you into?
I think I like listening to all kinds of music, but I don't think my taste would be so varied as well. If I would say my first go-to music would be Indian classical, Hindustani, not Karnataka so much. That would be my go-to music. But I like listening a lot to, for lack of a better word, Sufi music. I'm not a big fan of fusion in that. I like to listen to the real stuff. I love jazz a lot. I like some Western classical. I love listening to Chopin. He's quite my favorite. And the pop songs sometimes one listens to. I find them nice. Some tracks of Kanye West, this guy I like very much. But largely, I would say, yeah, Indian classical would be my go-to music and jazz.
If someone wants to get into Indian classical or wants to start listening to Indian classical, what would you recommend as endpoints?
So I can just tell you my favorites because I don't know. I've seen people either they connect very quickly to Indian classical or they just don't. I think when we were in school and college, we were lucky enough to have this organization called Spick McKay, which used to bring us literally the best of the masters. Literally, like they would be sitting in our either in our college campus in the garden over there and singing in front of us, or in our college auditorium. So these were lovely days, where we heard the best of the best. That doesn't mean that everybody who heard them got connected to Indian classical. I think it's a call. Everybody whatever, and you either do or you don't, and there's no, of course, have to about it. And I don't remember any resistance on my part. I think I just very literally I just took to it. So I wouldn't say get into it listening to some fusion classical. I would say get into it full on and then see. Like Drupad is lovely, I think. Undecha Brothers or the Dagar Bandhu is wonderful. There are so many Parveen Sultanas there. Mallikarjun Mansoor, of course, Bhimsen Joshi, Kumar Gandhar, those are everybody knows, Kishori Amonkar. So all these people, they are the masters. And I would just say, just start. If you like it, you'll connect to it. If you don't, then, it's not for you. It's fine.
This is a question that we've been asking on the channel a lot recently. Do you think all good lyricists are poets as well and vice versa? Would you take good lyrics as poetry?
Of course. For me, poetry, what is that? I mean, I'm a layman in that terms of that.
Yes.
I love reading words that are beautiful and are put together beautifully. I think that's poetry for me. I'm not getting into any literary syntax or stuff about that, but just as a layperson who connects with words, for me, poetry is something that will call me in and will give me an experience in those 4 lines, or evoke something in me. That's poetry to me. And I think when we listen to good lyrics, it does that, doesn't it? It's evocative of just so much. For me, that's poetry. So I think it's fairly interchangeable. Yeah, I would think so.
I also discovered recently that if I get 1 hour extra when I wake up, it's very easy for me to prepare for the day. So do you also have a certain morning routine or an unwinding ritual that you would want to share with people who are just looking forward to slow down in life?
I keep trying to do it myself and I'm not able to, which is that not touch my phone as soon as I get up. But these days, I'm not able to do that. So, I think that is something that is wonderful. One, of course, getting up at a good little bit early time. For me, when I say early, it would be somewhere between 7 to 7:30. I think it obviously would give an edge to anybody, right? But then there are people who don't do good when they wake up early. Yeah, of course, we know Ayurveda says that's how our body's rhythms are. And if we sleep at 10 and we get up around 6 or something, it's the best time. So I've always been a morning person. It works for me very well. Um, and I'm also somebody who's had a late night. I'm not somebody who can sleep in late. My body is just like that. It just needs to get up in the morning. And I don't like late sleeping. But it also depends on the quality of sleep. Na? You can wake up early, but if you've had a terrible quality, then that's also not so great. But if you sleep on time and you can discipline yourself to sleep on time, which I think is 10 o'clock is a fabulous time to get to bed. It's something I need to inculcate in me. And you get up around, I think, 6:37. That's enough for your body. It's the day is different. And we all know that. It just kicks in differently. You just enter the day in a more gradual, nice, collected way. For me, that works. I can't say who it will work for, but certainly for me. If I'm up early and I've had a decent night's sleep, even not a very decent night's sleep, but if I get up at that time and I take that little time for myself, half an hour, 40 minutes, aram se. I hate to get up and have any hurried mornings. I think that's true for most people. Nobody likes that, you know.
Yeah.
So an unhurried initial, about 45 minutes to an hour. And if you have plants in the house, or you can look out into trees, I think that's a real big plus. Music is great, and I like to read in the morning. I realize, and I always have a glass of warm water. It will have something in it. Sometimes something I'll put. Sometimes that's a ritual. I'll have a big tall glass of warm water, and I like to read in the morning. Ideally, a book. But then there are many times I will reach for the phone and read nonsense on the phone. But I need to read. That's a very old habit, and it's good for me. Fiction is something I would pick up the last. I don't have for years now. Fiction's not been attracting me at all. So unless I've been told by someone I really trust that fiction book is wonderful, and it's been a while since I read it actually, because I don't even go and tell me what's a good fiction book, because I'm just not feeling drawn to fiction now for many, many years. So fiction is something I would not pick up in a hurry.
Ma'am, do you read autobiographies of artists or biographies or memoirs?
I'm not totally into it, but for some people who I would like, I've picked up Irfan's biography, and Irfan Khan's a very special person for me. So I would read Irfan's, but I don't read too many biopics. It's not something that draws me too much, unless it's somebody I really like. I know Charlie Chaplin's is something I've read in bits, but it's not something I'm able to go through fully, My daughter reads some of them, like she's got some she's just read, of course, Michelle's, Obama, that's a very famous one, and Pele and all. But they're sitting there, those books, but they don't call me so much. But Irfan's, yes, because it's somebody I'm very curious about. I'm very curious to see what his inner world was like, So I would read someone like him whom I'm really drawn towards. Otherwise, no, not as a rule, no.
Yeah. Now, what are your top 3 recommendations? Like, you have a 15-year-old daughter. I also have a sibling who's 16-year-old. What are your top 3 recommendations for 15 to 25-year-olds?
I think they should read a book called Autobiography of a Yogi. I really think so. Even if there's something like they think they're being fed mush or some protein or something, they have to close their eyes. And I think they should just read it. I'm just saying that because that had a huge impact on me at a pretty young age, but not so young. I think I was about 26 or 28 or something when I chanced upon that book. I wish I had come to it earlier. There is a book which I haven't been able to get through fully because I find it so strong. It's a book called Women Who Dance with the Wolves. It's a book like I keep, and after many, many months, I'll go and read a little. The books which I used to read at that time has just pretty much gone out of the window now for me. And I've just been reading very different stuff, short stories of people like Moravia, for example. It's just because that's fiction, I would say, but short stories of people like Somerset Maugham or Moravia, even Satyajit Ray, Anita Desai. These are, I think, fiction, but the worlds which they open and the explorations are very, very wonderful, I think, for everybody. I would say read Rumi, read poetry of Rumi. I find that's very lovely, and it just speaks to us differently, read Rumi.
I think my first novel was Anita Desai's Village by the Sea, and I was in class 8 or class 7, and I remember crying a lot. Are there any books that have broken your heart or just brought you out of a shell, or the bubble, have cracked open that bubble for you?
Autobiography of a Yogi, I think, would be a book for me that really opened something. It was a book I think meant for me, really meant to come to me, because I found it literally so serendipitously also. I was shooting on a film set and I found it. One of those things they keep in as part of the set and all. So I was just random between shots and I just found the book and I literally stole it from the set. And I wouldn't part with that book. And I started traveling with that book. Wherever I would go, I would just be carrying that book with me. So that for me would be a book that, yes, maybe cracked open, if you want to call it. Yeah, it cracked open something.
What was that one thing that actually changed in you after picking this up, or a reason why you would want people to pick it up?
It opens a world to me which goes beyond only what my mind can understand. So I think quite early on, I was quite convinced that the mind will offer us answers, but I also had an intuition that the mind has a very finite limit. And beyond the mind, there is other stuff which has to be intuited differently. And for me, this book opens or shows me the truth in a way, I would say, which a normal, ordinary mind can't access like that. You have to say that this is where the horizon of the mind is, and then there is something beyond. Because all that is tangible and what our five senses can perceive, I don't think that's all there is. There is more than that. So for me, this book is a signal. It's an indicator. It's a signpost of what else there could be.
Ever happened to you when you read a book or you watch something that's so profound, like Autobiography of a Yogi, and then you come back to reality, and there is so much of superficiality that's presented to you in the form of art? Like, we hold art in such high regards, but do you think it is okay to be superficial when creating art?
Everything serves a purpose, I think. If people want to listen to burger songs, then there is a market for that, and they should listen to it, and it will be produced and consumed. We're sitting in a market, and we all are being catered to, and content is created, we consume it, and then it's a cycle, right? I choose what I want to see, and I want to consume, and we know that there's enough of that out there. So I don't think a burger song is going to impact what Varun Grover writes, It's not. Varun is not going to start writing burger because there's a burger song out there. So I think the purity of each thing is its own, and it'll be maintained for what it is, and जिसको burger song सुनना है वो सुने ना यार, क्या हो गया उसमें? It's all right.
Is there also a book that you gift a lot of people, or a book that you're fond of gifting everyone? Because I personally pick up one book each year and I give it to everyone I know.
No, there's not a book. Not a book, because different people are also different, no? Then you would like to give them what they would like to read. Like to my daughter, I get a lot of books, so it's a thing, I get her a lot of books. Like recently, we've just gotten Gurmeher Kaur. She's very interested in reading Gurmeher. Gurmeher is someone who's got a very lovely mind, and someone so young is lovely. So I've just got her 2 books of Gurmeher, and she's very, very interested in Chimamanda Adichie. So I've just got her another Chimamanda. I've just been gifted a lovely book. It's called The Hidden Life of Trees. Lovely book about how trees communicate with each other. And it's a lovely book. I'm getting goosebumps just. So yeah. Osho is one person also I find very interesting to read. He has a lot of interesting stuff to say, I think. And recently there's a writer called Natasha Badwar. I find her writing very lovely. She writes for something called the Mint Lounge, and then she contributes to the Tribune and all often. She's this lovely writer, and she runs this, it's a part of this lovely NGO called Karwa-e-Mohabbat. And she writes really beautifully, I think. She's a mother of 3 girls, and has this lovely, churning, vulnerable and crazy mind, lovely. And I love, just got 2 books of hers, my daughter's mum, and I think something Immortal Moments or something. So she's one writer I like to watch out for, and I would love my daughter to read her, because she's so accessible and she just speaks of just this lovely stuff, which we all need to hear, I feel, these days, just lovely stuff. And it's so experiential. It's not coming from any borrowed space. It's purely experiential. It just hits me in my gut, the way she writes, which is lovely. Natasha Badwar. Yeah.
Do you also have favorite adaptations, especially in terms of books written by Indian authors? Film adaptations of books.
Film adaptations.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the first one that comes to my mind is, of course, Maqbool is borrowed from a play. I love that film. It's my all-time favorite film. Yeah, there's a lovely one, that Shakespeare one, Shakespeare in Love. I thought that was very beautifully done. Angur was so nice. I think a lot of our film scripts have a very Moliere-esque kind of a quality any which way. But yeah, if I had to top of the head, just really say, I would say Maqbool for me.
And what films would you recommend to kids our age, or like the Gen Z and millennials to watch?
Matrix, I would say, please watch Matrix. Watch Shakespeare in Love. It's quite lovely. I love this movie called Lost in Translation, just because of the delicacy and fragility of human relationships and emotion. Please watch Chupke Chupke, just because of that world of simplicity and innocence, which I'm sorry, but Gen Z and you guys, will never have it. It's gone. That world is gone. So just to
Yeah.
see what that world was like and to get a whiff of it, please watch films of Rishikesh Mukherjee, just to see that world. I normally don't like to pander to nostalgia, but if there is something that's nostalgic, it's what those films speak of or are
Yeah.
representative of. It's gone. That world is not there. You'll never access it. Not that you want to. Also, I'm saying, I would love it if Gen Z could see Malgudi days again for the same reason. I would say certainly watch that if you can have the bandwidth. I love films like Interstellar or Inception. I love those kind of films. When Harry Met Sally, just for the old world romance, I would say watch it. It's just fun.
What were the best films that you saw during the lockdown?
I'm a big thriller fan. I love watching thrillers. So, but I've seen them all, so it's very difficult to see thrillers also now. I just saw something called The International, which is an old one because I'm a huge Clive Owen fan. And there's Naomi Watts, the lovely two actors. And I just saw that. I'm a big, big fan of the Bond series. These films, and I just watched Ajib Dastan last night. I'm a big fan of Fleabag. That's the one I totally got hooked onto. I just love that show. Yeah. Love it. Love that woman. Love that writing. She's fantastic. She's fantastic. But yeah, I think the mind is feels so heavy these days, with all that's going on now again, because one's reading or hearing so much other stuff that when I sit to watch, then I ideally would like to watch a thriller or something, a comedy, but there isn't much of that.
Like we were having this word with Ratna ma'am as well, Ratna Patak ma'am, and we asked her like, what does she do when she's in doubt? And she said, I go back to reading P.G. Wodehouse. Is there something that you do when you are in doubt? Like you just said you watch thrillers or something.
It's sad, but it's true. When I am feeling heavy and all, then the thing is to watch, not read so much, which is sad, but that has happened now. Books were something I used to devour, read a lot. I've been a very, very avid reader, but I've noticed in the last some years, I do tend to consume more content online. It can be reading than I do to open a book. And normally I always have 2-3 books which I'm reading at the same time. So that practice is not ended. Always 3 books are there. I'm reading 3 books. I normally don't like to start a book and read it start end to end. I like to have books which I can read from anywhere. I like that. Short stories would be something I would like to go back to. Like I don't have those books anymore. In fact, I should get them. Anita Desai is a word name that's coming to my head. There's this person called Ruzbe Barucha. I like his books too. They would be my go-to book, quick reading. At that kind of time when I'm feeling a bit heavy, I have to decide to read. Or Natasha Badwa these days. I'm feeling like just reading her a lot. My old stuff, I can safely say it's gone. Like PG would be something that Ratna would have probably read long back. I don't feel like going back to that stuff much anymore, except for the short stories, really.
This is one question that I ask everyone who comes on the channel. Like, do you prefer paperback or do you prefer Kindle?
I've not even ever read a book on Kindle yet.
Okay.
So I'm totally not. It's horrible. I'm one of those relics who are resistant to it still. So unless I really feel the need for it, I wouldn't like to read on Kindle. I would totally want a book.
I think even I was one such person, but then my friends forcefully gifted me Kindle. And then I realized it's actually very convenient when you're traveling. And do you also have any preference in terms of letters and postcards? Or do you still write letters or postcards?
No, I don't, but I want to. It's interestingly, just some months back, a very, very old college friend of mine told me that he's going to be writing me a letter. So after years, I got a letter and I thought I'm going to reply back with a letter, but it's still sitting and I've not replied back, but I would like to write a letter. But no, of course, it's totally gone. I mean, there's no 2 ways around it. It's when I sit down to write a letter to him, I don't even remember the last time I've written a letter. He reminded me that I used to write him letters, which used to have a letter and a postcard, both. And he says, I couldn't tell from where you would have started. Have you started writing on the letter first, or the postcard has gone in the letter? And he said it used to be so much fun to figure that out with what. And I'd forgotten that. It was lovely that he brought it to my remembrance. So yeah, I've always loved the postcard format. I find it very lovely.
Do you also I asked you about the books that you would recommend to Gen Z, but there were also these TV shows that I grew up watching. There was Johnny Bravo, Powerpuff Girls, etc., etc. And then my siblings' generation came. He's 16 now, and they had Chota Bheem at his time. And I used to
Yeah.
recommend him a lot of TV shows. Do you also have TV shows that you'd like to recommend? Like you said, Malgudi Days.
And there used to be a really silly show in which it was sweetly silly, in which Ratna used to be there, actually called Idhar Udhar. Oh, there used to be a lovely German. That's forget it. There's no way you can find that. There used to be a German thriller series, and each one used to be an episode of a murder or something that had to be solved. It was called The Old Fox, and we used to watch it a lot. It was lovely. Oh, Discovery of India was very, very fabulous. Yeah, I think it was a show made by Sham Benegal at one point. And it was very, very lovely. Bhavar is one part of one TV show. Again, I would say, but then this generation won't be interested. It used to be based on a episodic thing of cases, of real legal cases in which the law had been changed, which means a case came to court and it was of such a nature that there had been a minor alteration or something had been done to accommodate that particular circumstance, and then that became as if there's been an alteration in the law. Yeah, these were lovely old shows, yeah, these ones. But Zara, we hardly had anything, yeah, to watch at that time. Really, so little.
Do you still watch TV shows?
Not too much, I would say. Sometimes I watch because of my daughter. Gilmore Girls would be called a TV show, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I watch that because she's a big Gilmore Girls fan, and we watch. It's a bonding time a lot where we just sit and eat popcorn and watch stuff. So Gilmore Girls, Friends. I am a Friends fan like anything. My daughter and I both. I think that's great writing. Yeah, I love Friends.
What character do you relate to the most?
Phoebe. She's my
Yeah.
all-time favorite. I love her. Morning show I just saw on Apple TV, which I thought was very fantastic. I really enjoyed that. Schitt's Creek I saw. It was interesting. But yeah, TV shows would largely be with my daughter only. So what she watches, I like to watch with her.
Are you also a foodie?
So I thought I really was. But over time, I'm also noticing that I don't like too much fuss around food anymore. I have myself personally lost all interest in cooking over the last some years. I used to cook a lot earlier, and I've noticed I've lost interest in cooking whatsoever now. So just very few times I'll be cooking. And I don't like it when people fuss too much over food. When I see people going like mental that if they had to eat Chinese today and they don't, to unka mood kharab ho jata hai, I find that a bit like asinine.
Yeah.
And I have friends who are pretty anal about food, and it's not a quality I care for much anymore. While saying that, I love good food, and I'm particular about what is served at home or cooked.
If someone is visiting Delhi or Bombay, because I know you lived in Delhi for quite some time, is there a place that you'd like to recommend to people that if you're in Delhi, go there and eat chole bhature?
I've not been, eat chole bhature, so then I would say in Karol Bagh, the main Asal Mal chole bhature was that shop. I've forgotten the name now. Sorry, they'll kill me. We also come with a certain pickle. Then Chandni Chowk, the streets, yeah, just like, oh my God, if you're a foodie like that, then like the kanji which you get on Redis and Golgappe, I'm a big Golgappa fan, freak. That's the one I'm very particular about, because like Bombay, I think abhi tak ek bhi koi jagah mujhe nahi mili where my Golgappa thing has gotten satiated. I don't like any water of any place. It's just terrible. I don't know what it is in Bombay water. They make a mushy water. And Delhi, there's a thing of this, clarity of water. Water is clean. The particles of whatever the spices are not floating all over. So yeah, Old Delhi is a great place for all of this, if you like. And our time used to have these bands which used to have this lovely Chinese food. Yeah, there used to be lovely tikkas in Shami kebabs in Triveni Cafe in Mandi House. Lovely ones, yeah. So yeah, those are places, but everybody knows all these places now.
I'll just come back to to plays now, because I know you've done theater as well. What do you think are the best written plays in Indian history that one must pick up if if someone wants to start reading plays?
Girish Karnad is quite lovely. One can start, with Girish. Shakespeare, yeah. Matlab, what he writes is something
Yeah.
else only. Genet, I love very much. Molière is quite lovely to read and an easy read, I would think, because it's so based on movement and there's a lot of burlesqueness and there's a lot of comedy and very stock situations. So Molière might be an easy into reading, start reading plays, I would say, or reading plays.
This is my one of the last questions. Like, what is the wisest investment that you've made in the last 1 year? Like, I got a whiteboard, which I think was a waste of money, but it has just made my life so easy. A simple whiteboard and a lot of storage boxes, which are very cheap, but then they just made life easier.
It's all the stuff one reads to get through these difficult times, and these are very difficult times, and last year has been very difficult, and this year is, after a good break, now we are back again, and it's just astoundingly painful sometimes and sad. So the investment, I would say, is on the days I can remember all that one has sort of understood about getting through these kind of experiences, on the days that I can remember to access that investment of those books or that stuff that, that little information mound that one keeps. But there are days I can't access it. On the days I can, I feel happy that I've made that investment of reading that stuff or comprehending that stuff or internalizing that stuff. So I would say that.
I saw your TED talk on impermanence, and you spoke about how we resist change. Do you think that's one of the many reasons why a lot of us seek nostalgia everywhere?
Yeah, it could be for sure, because that's so reaffirming, no? It's so familiar. It's so known. It makes you feel bundled and safe. But interestingly, for somebody who's always felt I don't like change, I'm not a nostalgic person. That's interesting. And when people indulge too much in nostalgia, it bores me. And that one ki hamare zamane mein wo vaisa wala wo and all that, like that's gone, done, finished. But sure, of course, I'm sure the direct connect between nostalgia and resistance to change for most people, for sure.
And I just had one last question for you, and this is something I've asked everyone who comes on the channel. If you were on a gunpoint, what would you pick up? Would it be a 50 Shades of Grey book or a Twilight series? It's just a fun, would you rather this or that question? Would you rather
Oh my
read a
God,
Twilight
but what are
series?
these options? These options I would pick up neither.
Okay.
The Twilight series, or what would you say? It's
50 Shades of Grey. Yeah.
I would think then 50 Shades of Grey, if I had to.
Yes.
Twilight series
Okay.
is never, it's not my at all.
Yeah. But this was great, ma'am. Thank you so much for doing this. And before we go, I just had one request from you. Could you please ask the people who are listening or watching this to please subscribe to our channel, Chalchitra Talks, and like, share, and subscribe to the channel?
To all of you who are listening in, it'll be great if you could subscribe to this channel, Chalchitra Talks, and like and share and comment and badhao it. Why not? It's great. We all get to extend the circle of fun stuff which we all can see, hear, read. Thank you.